Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. This is the show where we teach you how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. And today it's Sunday. And I said, you know what? I just feel like going through a bunch of messages because I got a lot of messages while I was on vacay a couple weeks ago that I haven't gotten to. I was sick this past week, so I couldn't really do as long of a show as I wanted to, but my voice is back. It feels better than ever. And so I figured, you know what? Tonight's a good night to answer some of those questions. And that's also a night to answer your guys' questions. So for those of you that are watching this live, if you want to jump in the chat and ask me your question, then I'll be happy to answer it at some point during the stream. I've already got a couple of questions from a guy in the comments, so we'll definitely get to those. Also, as always, guys, if you really need like one-on-one help, like obviously these lives are great and I can get to your situation a little bit, but if you really want to do the deep dive work on what you can do to actually transform your dating life, then I recommend going to introvertdatingsuccess.com, clicking on the coaching tab and signing up for one-on-one coaching, as well as the program I have called the Introvert Dating Success Coaching Academy, which will give you video modules as well as one-on-one help to help you figure out your dating life once and for all and figure out this whole thing that we call attraction. All right. So we're going to get into all of that. And I'm actually going to start with, I got a question in the comments here. And this is from a guy that was actually on my previous stream. And he was going through a situation with a girl where she was kind of being wishy-washy about stuff. And so this is a bit of an update on that situation. He says, I asked the girl's friend about the situation and what was going on. And she admitted to me that the girl I was seeing is seeing another woman. And let me tell you, I've had this happen a couple of times. So it can definitely get a little crazy when you're like, but I thought she liked me and now she's liking other women. Like she chose a woman over me. Like what's going on? And he says she also shared with me that she told her she still liked me when I came up in the conversation. Why hasn't she unfriended me or blocked me if she's seeing someone else? Well, it's like I said in the last stream, ultimately, like none of that matters, because here's the thing is that you're looking, again, like I said in the last stream, sometimes you don't always get the answers that you're wanting from situations. And so this girl hasn't blocked you on things. The reality is she might not want to like add more energy to the situation. Like it's one of those things where if you decide to get rid of her, you can, but that doesn't mean she's going to go through that exercise. Because, you know, think about like social media friends, right? I have 800 something odd friends on Facebook, for example, right? How many of them do I actually talk to or see? But because I don't see them in person, does that mean I'm going to now take them off of social media? Like, no, I like to see the height of numbers that I have of people that at one point in life I actually talk to. So it could very well be an ego thing. You could just be like, why waste the energy to go through the pains of like clicking on that I want to unfriend this person and block them? Like, it's a lot of work, okay? So ultimately, guy, here's the thing. This is why it's always important to read a woman's actions versus what her words are. Because you're saying that her friend said that she still likes you, right? Is she doing actions that indicate that? Is she calling you up? Is she texting you back? Is she going on a date with you? My guess is if she's seeing a woman, she's probably not doing those things. So she could say to her friend, hey, I still like him, all she wants to, but there's nothing that's stopping her from also picking up the phone and telling you that same thing, unless she's just no longer highly interested. And so, again, that's why I say the hardest part of the dating journey is recognizing that people are going to treat us crappy and not give us the answers we want and just out of nowhere stop talking to us, even though we might have done all the things or we might have done nothing. It's just somebody else came along and they found them more interesting and decided to be rude and not hit you back. This is why I also say when that happens, you continuing to give energy to that situation. If they're not giving energy to it, why are you giving energy to it? Like at this point, nothing you're going to say or do is going to change up how she's acting. She's going to still probably like that other girl. And yeah, she might have a like for you on some level, but that level is not one that's making her reach out to you. So at this point, in terms of the explanation as to why she hasn't unfriended you or blocked you, that's not really important. The important thing is that she's not contacting you. So if you want to block her or unfriend her, you definitely can. I know most dudes probably don't because they're thinking, but if I have a shot at all, I want to make sure that I didn't do anything to like hurt her feelings. So that way she thinks she's goes away. And so, you know, you got to make that decision. But that's the truth. Is that sometimes we don't get to know the why behind why people are doing things, you know? Let's see. Next question here on the chat block is a guy says, hey, Harry, thanks for the stream. I've been seeing a woman for a month and a half. She has consistently said yes to all my dates, but I've noticed that she will not reply to text for 3 to 5 days. She seems very excited when we meet in person and will initiate text on her own, but I'm puzzled by these periods of silence. I also want to make sure to give her space and not text her when this happens. He's asked, is it possible for a woman to remain highly interested but barely text even as you continue to date her? And my answer is yes. As a guy himself that does not like texting all that much, I can very well be highly invested in a woman, but when I'm not seeing her, you guys see this stuff, right? I've been working on this background and getting my streams up. I just paid for HD so I can make sure, I'm doing stuff when I'm not in front of these women's faces, right? So that doesn't mean I stop thinking about them. It just means that I'm compartmentalizing. When I'm with them, I'm having the best time of my life. And when I'm here doing other things, because I'm not in front of them, that's what I'm concentrating on, okay? But this is what we go back to the same thing, actions, right? When you ask her out, is she giving an enthusiastic yes? Is she showing up on time? Is she not flaking? Does she seem to be having a good time with you? If those things are happening, then you're good. I think the trick that's happened in the last 20 years is that texting came along and ruined the confidence that guys have. Because what happens is now, if she doesn't text you back right away, or if you're not having a chatty buddy messaging session every single day, then guys start to worry. Oh my God. And it's because we've been fed this lie. We've been told that in order to bond with a woman, we need to have communication, but it doesn't say an abundance of communication. It doesn't say an override of communication. And, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Back then, you go on a good date with somebody, you may not see her for the next 3 or 4 days for whatever reason. And it was totally fine. Like everybody just knew, hey, when I call you up, that's when we're going to go on a date again. If I don't call you for the next 4 or 5 days after our first date, it doesn't mean I've lost interest. It could be I took you out on a Sunday and I worked all week, and then Thursday night was the first night I had free. So I call you up on Wednesday or Thursday to ask for a date for Thursday or Friday. And people are totally fine with that. All right. So you can't use the whole thing of she's not texting me in between, because what are you looking for? Are you looking for a texting pen pal, or are you looking for somebody that's going to meet you in person, be able to talk to you, ideally touch you, feel you, smell you, all that other stuff? And the tangible things, the feeling, the being out on a date with each other, those are going to be more important reads. So again, to the point, if you're on these dates, if you're escalating, if you're able to kiss her, all this great stuff, you can't be like, oh, we did all this great stuff on the date. Oh, but she didn't text me. Oh my gosh, she must not like me. Like, the real read is the stuff that's happening in person. And again, if she's not texting you right away, it's because she probably has other stuff to do. And also, she doesn't want to be a chatty Cathy. I've talked to enough women to know that as much as we think they want to hear from us all the time, the reality is, in those first 3 months of dating, that is a gradual build. So when you get to month 3, yeah, she might message you a little bit more, respond a little bit faster. But on the first couple of dates, that first month, she's still trying to decide where her interest level is. She might start out, for example, with you with say a 55% interest level, just enough to get her out on the date. And then as you're asking her out more and more, it's going up to 57, it's going up to 60, it's going to 65. You want to get a woman to that 80% to 90% like level. And that's where you can practically do no wrong and where they're coming at you all the time. And it's great to get there, but you have to get there, and it's a build. So you can't assume off a few dates that she should suddenly be responding to you all the time. That realistically may not happen. It might not be until you get to month 2 that she's like, I'm going to text that guy. I'm going to figure out. But also realize that if that's happening, that could also mean that you're initiating too many texts. Most guys will say things like, well, the texting is 50-50. No, you're only texting to her realistically in those first couple of months should be to ask her out. Anything else than that, you're wasting your time, you're wasting her time, and they're going to actually start to lose interest because you're taking away some of the mystery that needs to be there for them to be able to anticipate seeing you again. All right. So all that to say, totally fine. If it starts getting haywire where she starts not responding to date requests, that's when I'd start to worry. So hopefully, Guy, this helps you out. All right. Before we get into some of these other questions, I've been doing a segment on the show called Kevin Samuels Was Right, which goes in tandem with my upcoming album called Kevin Samuels Was Right. And so I want to do a little segment for that, but I don't want to wear this. So I'm going to just change real quick. Hold on a second.
Kevin Samuels was right. Kevin Samuels was right. Kevin Samuels was right.
Much better. So this is the segment we call Kevin Samuels Was Right. And this is where we go over a video of Kevin's, a clip, and explain why he was correct. And by the way, this goes in tandem with my album coming out called Kevin Samuels Was Right, dropping on May 5th, the 1-year anniversary of his death. So Let's go ahead and pull it up into the screen and let's check out this video.
So women can tell I'm not getting no play?
Anybody, all 462 people in the chat room can tell you ain't getting no play. That's the energy you're getting.
Yo, real talk, Kevin's absolutely right. Most people can typically tell from a guy if he knows how to deal with women or not. And women, especially since they're already intuitive, have a really great read on this. So if you're wondering, if you're walking about in the world and you're wondering if women can tell that you've never been with another woman or that you've never been able to really have success in the dating realm, most of them can tell based on your stance, based on how you're walking, based on how you're talking to them, your general attitude, and so forth and so on.
Because you're a guy that said you don't think you should have to approach women. They should give you choosing signals. Where would you rank yourself on a scale from 1 to 10? How tall are you?
Oh, so for years, for the last couple of years he was doing the show, women were saying that he was being sexist and misogynistic because he was asking them their weight and their height. I just wanted to point out that Kevin was doing this for men. And you're going to see the way in which he talked to men about this is at times a lot worse than he talked to women. So I just wanted to say, you could say he might have been a-holish for doing it, but you can't say he was misogynist because he did it to everybody.
I'm 5'10".
5'10". How much do you weigh?
I weigh about,
to what?
depending on the day, between 280 285.
So you're a fat
Yeah.
So you think a 5'10", almost 300-pound dude, how much money you make?
Like 482 weeks.
You make less than $10,000 a year. Okay.
But how many 20-year-olds is Henry?
Hold on. Dude, I was a 20-year-old and I was making far more money than that. In the 80s, where minimum wage was $3.35 an hour. So I need to hear it. How long you got a big?
Huh?
You have.
So let's just judge the meters, right? Because women got mad again for like him judging them on their size and stuff. He's judging men on their size, their height, how much money they make, and if they've got strong packaging downstairs. All right. Now, one could argue how they feel about that, but the reality is Kevin's absolutely right. Women are going to be judging you guys based on these things. Now, we already know that they judge on height, all right? But they also are looking at your weight in terms of how healthy you are, because you could be like kind of chubby and still be, running and doing push-ups regularly. But this guy's at 5'10" and 280. Like I'm 5'10" myself. So the healthy weight range ends at like 168. So he is now close to 125 pounds over that. So sorry to say, guys, women are going to judge that. They're going to judge the money you make, because realistically, when a woman's looking to get into a situation, she's looking at, can the man take care of himself? Can the man potentially take care of me on the off chance that I get pregnant and have to like sit out of work? Like, we still got to survive. I still got doctor's appointments to go to. Like, a lot of these are subconscious thoughts, because like a 20-year-old woman is not like consciously thinking about, if we get married someday, X, Y, and Z, he needs to have money. But this is not to say you have to be a completely rich dude. But if you can't make even like $50,000 to $70,000 a year, then women are going to look at that and be like, are there better options out there? And for most of you guys that are in your 20s and early 30s, women at those ages can still get top tier guys that make a whole lot more to be able to support the kind of lifestyle they think they might be getting into. Okay. And then getting into the whole having a big package, that's the conversation you can have with women. From what I've heard, it's not that it has to be all that big, but his point is that if you don't have all this other stuff, you better have a reason. And your reason better be that you got enough sufficient packaging down there to where a woman will say, well, he's kind of broken on his mama's couch, but he satisfies me in the bedroom, so I'm good. If you ain't got that and you got any of those other things, you're going to be struggling out here to get women.
Have a big.
I mean, it's above average. I ain't no Ron Jeremy.
No. I asked you if you had a big. I didn't say it was above average.
I don't know what that is, really.
You know if you got a big or not. Stop the bullshit. Every dude know whether or not he got a big. I know I got a big. You don't know?
I mean,
you don't have a big.
That's true, guys. You know it. Stop lying. You know if you have a big one or not.
That's the point. You don't have a big. You don't have a big wallet. You're a fat dude.
And again, it's not that bigger dudes can't get women, but they're going to judge you on various metrics. So if you are big, but you are like 6'2" and you make a lot of money and you got a big, you can get away with like not having 1 out of the 4. But to have like all those things against you, it's going to be a hard fight, guys. Kevin's absolutely right.
You got a lot of nerve thinking you should get choosing signals at 5'10" and 300 pounds, making less than $1,000 a month at 20 years old.
So again, laying out the math. And it's funny, again, this is the same thing, women, that you guys got mad at him for. But notice this dude. This dude is being called the worst stuff, and he's just kind of laughing it off and saying, yeah, Kevin, you're right, blah, 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 because he understands. And men generally know, like, if I completely get out of shape, for example, and women aren't choosing me, I can be mad at it, but I will know it's because I let myself go. Like, we inherently know on some level as men that this is our fault. This is what we need to do to fix these things. And I might have been lazy not doing them, but I know what they are. So I can't be completely mad, even though I wish I could get the results that I want. You know, so as a guy, you got to take ownership of where you're faltering and fix those things, because women are going to be judging and they're not going to care about your sob story.
And women should approach you. What they get, they don't even get a big.
Oh man. So yeah, Kevin was absolutely right here. Like, you got to make sure that you're getting your stuff up. You got to make sure that you're establishing yourself better, getting those goals. Be sure to work out. You can't change your height, guys. So a lot of you guys write me saying, I'm 5'6", 5'7", I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Fine. That's one thing you have against you. If you have that one thing against you, but the other things are lined up in place, then you should be generally fine. But make sure that you're working towards those, because if you're not, then you're just sitting there saying, I'm out of shape and I'm short and I don't have any money, but women won't date me. Woe is me. And again, women don't owe you understanding and the world does not care. All right. So thanks for watching that portion of the show. And by the way, my album, Kevin Samuels Was Right, is coming out on May 3rd, 2023. So be sure to get it when it comes out.
Kevin Samuels was right. Kevin Samuels was right. Kevin Samuels was right.
And we're back. And also, I meant to say May 5th, not May 3rd, but May 5th. So I have to, fix that in editing. But anyway, so yeah, let's get into some more questions, guys. By the way, be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, but the likes definitely help these kind of videos get found in the algorithm. So if nothing else, you can always donate a super chat, but likes are also greatly appreciated. All right, so let's get into some of these questions. Like I said, guys, if you happen to have any questions during the course of the show, I'll be happy to answer those as well. So these are comments that were left on my pages that were questions of things. And so this guy actually left a comment like today, like an hour before the show. And so his question goes, I need help. I was talking to this girl and we had hung out a few times before we both recognized we really like each other. I'd be curious to know what that conversation was, because I know a lot of times guys would be like, well, I like you. Do you like me? Or something in that vein. And early on in the dating process, I think it's fine to be like, hey, I want to take you out, stuff like that, and treat it more like you're trying to figure out where this is going. Because you could be like, I'm always at this point, I'm really realistic about, I might have an inkling of a like for somebody, but I don't know their full story. So I go into asking women out with that energy, where it's like, hey, we should go out. And they'd be like, well, why? I said, well, I think we have some good stuff in common, but I really want to see like where this could go. So let's go on a date, Anyway, he says, one day I told her it felt like I was always the one making plans and it wasn't 50-50. She said she was, and then I told her she was the first person I had been into since my ex. And then she didn't answer my text. And sorry. And so I texted her a few more times and I was being really needy. So here's another way that texting kills attraction. All right. And this is why I really advise against you guys really leaning on the whole texting thing, is because if you're not texting in the correct way, what can happen is you're going to say stuff to a woman at times that's going to rub her the wrong way. And now there's a paper trail for it, or an electronic trail for it, So let's say you guys get over a fight, for example, or you get over some complaint you had about her. Well, now you guys are going to be in a good place at some point, and then she's going to scroll back in the texting history just to reminisce, and she's going to come across that time that you made some dumb request of her, or had some kind of dumb argument, or said something that was kind of out of pocket. And women, they're feelings based. That thing you said 2 or 3 months ago is going to get back into her head, and now you're going to have a bad time. Versus if you make it a phone call, if nothing else, it's not that she won't remember the phone call. It's just she won't have the physical evidence of words that were said during a phone call. But texting does. And that's where you guys get in trouble and aren't aware of it, So in this guy's case, he decided to text her, you know what? I noticed I'm always the one making plans and it's not 50-50. Well, he also said they've only hung out a few times. And by the way, for you guys out there, stop calling it a hangout. It's a date. You went on a few dates with her, all right? But in that first 2 to 3 months, your goal is to get to a minimum of 10 dates, at which point within that time frame, she'll probably start thinking of you more in the context of being the potential boyfriend, at which point they will really start making like more of the efforts to do the things that up to this point you've been doing, like planning the dates. Now, most women overall like to be the ones to plan, like to be like the guy to be the one to plan dates. Because I've heard so many women complain about, the guys that try to ask them out always ask them, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. And so she's already doing the things on her end that she needs to do, but you being the leader in the relationship, you being the one to take the reins and take control of this thing means that for those first 3 months, you're going to be the one primarily planning these dates. But you got to look at, what is she doing on these dates? Is she showing up on time? Is she wearing perfume and dressing nice? When you guys go home together, is she doing what's necessary in the bedroom to make you happy? If those things are happening, stop complaining, because you're still getting out of what you want. You're still getting to spend time with somebody you really like. They're bringing the energy that they need to. They are being able to be vibrant. They're being able to do stuff in the bedroom. She's doing her part. All right. At the point that you guys get into a relationship, or not even that, at the point where you guys start to negotiate what the terms are going to be for getting into a relationship. Because ideally what's going to happen is in 2 to 3 months, she's going to come to you and say, what are we? Are you seeing anybody else? I want to be in a relationship. And don't make the mistake most guys make of just assuming automatically, yes, I'm going to say yes to whatever when it happens. No. I have a whole segment of my Introvert Dating Success Coaching Academy that talks about how to negotiate what you're going to want in this relationship should she get to that point. And that's the part where you can say things like, well, I think we have a good relationship. I'm curious though, so if we get into this boyfriend-girlfriend territory, does this mean that you're going to occasionally take me out? Because I think I've been doing a pretty great job planning these dates up to this point. But as we get more serious, I'm going to want some of that reciprocity too, just because I feel as though, for every 3 dates I take you on, it'd be nice to get a date from you. So is that something that we can talk about? And then that's when you can bring up the kind of things that you're going to want in order to really make this. Because the thing is, if a woman's coming to you and saying, hey, I want to be in a relationship, that's at the point where she's at, where she's pretty much willing to do anything in order to keep you and have you as somebody she can claim of her own. And that's when you can start asking for the things that maybe you were thinking she should have been doing up to this point, but for whatever reason she wasn't, or they were things that were in the more masculine role and maybe she didn't feel comfortable about that. Or you never know if she could have been in a relationship where she was the one planning all this stuff and the guy thought it was overbearing. He felt demasculated. And so she's been like, okay, I don't want to give guys that impression, so I'm going to let him do this stuff. But regardless, that kind of conversation is for when you are negotiating terms to be in a relationship with you. And then the part where he says, I told her he was the first person to my ex, blah, 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 blah. Guys, stop talking about your feelings. The girl doesn't care. And also, when you say things like this and you talk about how she's making you feel and you're the one that makes you feel blah, 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 this is that, all that's doing is making her feel pressure to make this a relationship. So you be the one in the first 3 months of dating to do actions that indicate you care, and let her do the feminine energy thing of being able to verbally express to you how you're making her feel, how good of a guy you are, how you stand out amongst all the guys she's dated. That is very flowery language stuff to do, and that gives off feminine energy, and it turns women off. How do I know? Well, personal experience, but also he says after he did this, then suddenly she stopped answering his text. So if I know you might be feeling things, that's great. Tell your guy friends about it, tell your therapist about it, but do not tell women how you're feeling about them or what you're thinking about how you two could be together or doing any kind of future speak. That is for them to do. You just show up on a day-to-day and do the things you need to do to show her a really good time action-wise, all right? But continuing, he says, she started to pull away, but I managed to call her, which you should have done this whole time, which is why I'm very much against texting, because texting kills attraction. I managed to call her and we talked on the phone, and she admitted I freaked her out. And she said she'd call me later, but never did. And now won't text me, and she will read my messages, but not reply after I have messaged her 3 times. You, my friend, need to get my book called Texting Like a Boss, which is the 21 texting commandments. You can go to my shop in the link and get that book today, because I talk about the ways in which you should text a woman, the ways in you should not. And one of the things I talk about is that texting is like a game of tennis. So for those of you guys that worry about double or triple texting and not knowing what to do, it's very, very simple. Treat texting like tennis. You have a net, your text goes across the net, and you wait for her to return a text back. So that way you will no longer be triple texting, quadruple texting. All of our phones work, guys. If you text a woman and she wants to text you back, she got the message. She will text you when she's ready. If she's not texting you back It means that for whatever reason right now, she may be pulling away. She may need time to herself. You may have said some stuff that caused her to start thinking about if she wants to continue to see you or not. And maybe she needs some time away from you to start getting back to the feeling of you being a masculine man, the feeling that she had when she was anticipating seeing you. Because right now, all your messaging is not allowing her to wait and anticipate her hearing from you because you're texting her all the time. And it's annoying. And you're texting things that are annoying. You're texting her things like, well, we should be making plans 50-50. And, I want to tell you my feelings about how you're the first person since my ex. And all those things are now giving off vibes of being needy, of being complainy. And that's not the vibe that she's looking for, dude, because that's not the vibe that she had when she first started talking to you. So, yeah, if you've texted her 3 times, she knows that you're around. This is the time that you need to let that go and wait until she starts texting you again. In the meantime, go on the dating apps, start hitting on other women. You guys are not a couple. You don't deserve, she's not deserving of your complete loyalty yet, because the reality is in the dating phase, you can see other people, she can see other people. But right now, you're bringing too much energy to this situation to where she's probably feeling like that your feelings are way too strong and you're asking way too much of her, and you are. So stop it and back off. He says, I told her I apologize if I was acting clingy and that I would give her some space. You didn't just say all that. You could have just stopped texting her, and that would have let her know that she's being given space. All right. But you guys trying to text out to women and say, well, my plan is now to leave you alone. I understand things like that. That still gives off feminine energy. So you don't need to apologize for the moves you made. You can recognize that you shouldn't have made them, but you don't have to now say to her, hey, so I recognize I was being clingy and desperate and needy. And, I'm so sorry. And I'm going to give you space, princess. Like, none of that's necessary. Like, you text her 3 times. She didn't respond. So just leave it the heck alone. You don't have to say, I'm going to leave you alone for a bit. Let's just leave it alone and go live your life. And if she decides she wants to come back a little bit and act like nothing happened and say, hey, what's going on, blah, 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 blah. Great. At that point, you can say, oh, I've been doing great. Hey, you know what? Let's meet up for another date. And then you go on the date. You're not complaining. You're not trying to have these serious conversations. You're not trying to talk about feelings. You're just trying to be the fun, buoyant guy that gets her out of her head for a day. And that's all she wants in the beginning anyway. When she wants to get super, super serious, which is usually 2 to 3 months, she will bring it up. She will let you know. And then you can have a conversation about all the stuff that you need to happen to make sure relationships happening. Because ultimately, women are in control of when hookups happen, but we as guys are the ones that are in control of when relationships happen. And that means that when they come to us asking for a relationship, that's when we take control and let them know what we need in order to make that an effective thing for both of us. All right. So hopefully, guy, this helps you out. All right. Let's see. On to this next person's question. Interesting. So I did a show where I've done a bunch of shows about pull away tests and about basically how, the goal is that women should be chasing you, because if they're chasing you, they can't be replacing you. And so you have to do things in order to see to it that they're going to be the ones that are coming to you on their own time and when they feel comfortable. This includes texting, reaching out, asking for more than 1 date a week, all those things, right? So this guy wrote, and he said, so basically, you're telling guys to be masculine by taking control of their relationship, by letting her have all the control. It seems contradictory. So I asked him, I said, when did I say that? And then he said, well, you didn't directly say it. But when you just leave them to always come to you at their pace when they want, you're in essence submitting control, which can't be helped. That's the contradictory thing with this whole thing. Not so much what you said directly, just the situation. So, and I thought about this today. It's very interesting that the idea to him that you have to, if you're letting a woman come at her pace when she wants to, that you're basically relinquishing control, right? And I would argue that as the guy, your job is to know how women function and then create the environment to where she's going to have reactions and operate in the way that you actually want her to react in order to get the results that you want, right? Now, I thought about it like this, right? My mom, God bless her soul, she's still alive, so God bless her soul. When me and my brother were teenagers, right? She had 2 boys in the house, and it got to a point where she knew that realistically, she could not control every single thing that we did or said, because outside of her presence, we could be doing a bunch of things that could be getting in all kinds of trouble, things that are dangerous to us, et cetera, et cetera, right? So she told me later in life that she had certain choices to make. And the choices she had to make was, does she want to call us out on every single thing? Or does she want to allow us to think that we're getting away with certain things so that way we wouldn't do worse stuff? Perfect example, right? My brother at 15, he started drinking. It's just, teenagers tend to do that. I didn't drink till I was 21 legit because I was like, I'm not trying to break the law and all this other stuff. I don't know how it's going to be if I get drunk or whatever, right? But my brother would drink, right? So she knew there would be times when he would get invited to parties, and she knew on some level that there might possibly be drinking there. And she would let him go to those parties. Now, why would she let him go to those parties knowing full well that she doesn't actually want him to drink? Well, the reason was because she said later on is that she knew that if she were so hard on him about the drinking thing or drinking beers at parties and all this other stuff, and such him being an extrovert and wanting to fit in, that there was no telling if he would go down a worse path. Like, in the grand scheme of things, a beer, it's not the best thing for teenagers to be drinking, but what is he not doing? He's not doing heroin, any kind of strong drugs. He's not getting to other things that are more dangerous, because teenagers are going to want to test the boundaries and want to be able to try things on their own that may be disapproved by parents, right? But she knew that it'd be better for her to have a relationship whereby if something serious happened, he could go to her versus getting on him all the time about drinking. And there were some times where like he'd go to parties and it got a little out of control, and he knew that he could still call her up and be like, hey, I need a ride home, even if he'd been drinking a little bit, Now for me, I got into like adult movies at like 16, 17. And there would be times when I would like take our van and I'd go to like one of the movie rental shops and, try to fake like I was 18 and be able to get these movies, right? And again, my mom was doing it. She would do laundry for me. She could smell my room. She knew there were times where like I would accidentally leave like a receipt in the car, or like, leave one of the movies that I was taking back. Like I'd rent 2 at a time and forget one of them in the car or whatever, right? And so I think there was like one time where she called me out. And even then, what happened was like I left one of the movies in the van and I went out to do something else in the van and saw that the movie was there. And I now had to make an excuse to try to go to drop the movie off, right? And she knew it was in there. And she let me do the whole drive, came back, and she was like, we got to talk. Like, don't be bringing that stuff in my house, yada, yada, yada. But again, if I'm renting adult movies and I'm in my room as an introvert and spending time with myself, is that better than me going out, potentially like hooking up with a bunch of girls, getting one pregnant, getting STD, all this other stuff? Like, yeah, it's better. So she learned that by letting us get away for a few things, or letting us think that we were making our own choices about stuff, that it would allow her to control the environment overall in terms of what she's going to allow in the grand scheme of things in her house. And I bring this up because it's the same thing with women. The reality is that if you're trying to force your agenda on a woman, you're not going to get what you want. You trying to call her all the time, text her all the time, tell her, I need to see you 3-4 times a week. You can do that, but women aren't going to stick around for that. So what do you do instead? What you do is you do things in a certain way, you operate in a certain way, and you understand how women are going to best build attraction, how they're going to best feel like they're making the decisions about you to be able to get the results you want. So perfect example, right? Like I could say, for example, you wait between dates to call a woman. You wait up to 4 or 5 days between that time to call a woman. But part of the reason I say that is because we want to see where her agency is at. We want her to be the one to text us first, to be the first one to call us first, to get a gauge of her interest. Now, I have learned if you leave a woman alone in between those dates, because you're anticipating you're going to call her on day 4 or 5 for that. You already know what's going to happen, right? But if you give her that time, then she might start to think, I haven't heard from this guy in a while. I haven't heard a text from him. He hasn't asked me out again. Like, I wonder what's up with that. You know what? Maybe I'll reach out to him to see where he's at. And I've literally had it where like, I'll take a woman on a good date. I'll be waiting that 4 days. And by day 2, she's texting me, hey, hot stuff. Just wanted to see what you're up to. I was thinking we could have a beach day today. Hey, I was wondering if you wanted to go see this movie. I know we just saw each other like a couple of days ago, but the movie just came out. And I was wondering, I want somebody to go with. And so I want her to reach out, but I couldn't make that happen if I'm reaching out all the time to her. So in essence, I'm controlling the environment by saying, I'm going to back off and allow you to make the decision you want, knowing full well the decision that she ends up doing is the one I wanted her to do the whole time. But I can't make her do that. I can just set up the situation and scenario to where the thing that I want to happen is probably going to happen. You know why I tell you guys wait 2 to 3 months before you get into that relationship conversation? Is because based on my experience in the dating world, I have found that I could do one or two things. I could try to ask a woman about her feelings for me and say, hey, what are we? Where are we at? After like 1.5 months when I'm really ready to get into the relationship and I'm not going to get the results. Or I know if I'm just a little bit patient, I just relax. I build the environment to where, hey, she can come and go where she pleases. I'm not going to stress her out about feelings or where she needs to be at. then I find by month 2.5, I'm getting what I want. They're coming to me. Hey, so I'm just curious, like, do you really like me? Do you think we should be a thing? And I already knew it was going to happen. Again, based on experience of dating this long, that I knew that if I just waited out, then I'm creating the environment and situation for her to come to me to ask for a relationship. So all that to say is that being masculine means understanding how women function, knowing how they think, and being aware that based on those things, you need to create the way that you date in a way to where the things you want to happen are going to happen, and the results that you want are going to happen also. If you don't know how to create that kind of environment, or you're anxious about doing some of the things that I'm talking about, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the coaching tab, and we can get you started on learning these things, because it's very, very important to understand that you, being the masculine guy, still have to be in control of your environment and in control of how things are happening. But you have to give a person agency and allow them to have the appearance of coming to you, have the appearance of them being the ones thinking about, I just thought about, I should try to ask him out, again, this week again, because he only asked me out once. Maybe I should ask him out. And you set that up the right way. That kind of stuff's going to happen, but only if you're aware of what those things are. So hopefully, guys, this helps you out. All right. Like I said, guys, the show's about you. So if there's any questions happening in the chat, you can leave your comments down below. I got a person that said, great work, man. I binged a ton of your videos. Appreciate your grind. Well, no problem, guy. Like I said, I've spent years trying to figure this stuff out. If I can give any kind of information that's helpful to you guys, then that's what I'm here for, Be sure to, again, give this video a like. Feel free to leave a super chat if you like. If you really like the information, we will continue on. We have a question here from a guy, and he asked the question. Well, I'll get this other guys first. He says, I've got a quick scenario. I've been on 3 dates with a woman. She seems to enjoy her time in my company, but she doesn't reach out to me or show any affection towards me. All right. So obviously on those first few dates, we're looking to see if they're going to break the touch barrier with us first. And there's ways that you can set this up. For example, I talked about this before. When I'm on a date with a woman, I'm sitting across the table from her. I'll start telling a story, and then I'll do something with my arm. I'll be like, oh, and then I was doing something, blah, 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 blah. And then the strangest thing happened. And at this point, I'll leave my arm on the table, right? And then, and I do that because I'm waiting to see if at some point she reaches down and touch that arm as well. So I'll leave it there for like a good 2 or 3 minutes, just like while I'm letting her respond to something. And then if she starts telling a story, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and then she touches my arm, I know that's it. She's broken the touch barrier. Now, women will break this in subtle ways. It might be she touches you on your shoulder. It might be in passing. She kind of puts her hand briefly across your hip and then moves to the side. She might be walking extra close to you. You want to see if those things are happening. If any of those things are happening, that is her passive way of breaking the touch barrier. I tell you guys all the time, women are going to be passive in their communication. It's something that we don't understand, but we got to learn to accept that. All right. So you got to look at, in your 3 dates, has she at any time done any kind of touch-breaking thing? Has she looked lovingly into your eyes or just stared at you as you're talking? Has she played with her hair? Has she done all these signals that indicate that she's definitely building interest? If nothing else, the fact that she said yes to 3 dates in a row and hasn't flaked is a great sign. But ideally, she's breaking touch barriers. Now, if she has not done that, then you might be dealing with the rarity of a woman that is just very apprehensive about touching. Maybe she had a bad experience in the past and she wants to really not give too much hint to a guy that she doesn't want to give the appearance of being like an SLUT basically, So if that's the case, then you as the guy, she's going to look to be breaking that touch barrier. And you don't have to break it in ways that are going to make her feel like she's getting harassed. All right. We're not trying to touch her chest and stuff like that. But you as the guy need to go in and, put your arm around her, you don't want to put your hand on her shoulder when you're talking for a little bit, not a long leering touch, but 2 seconds. Hey, what's going on? Blah, blah, it's totally fine. And you got to start breaking those barriers. All right. Now, as you're doing this, which each touch she's comfortable with, then you can get a little more bold with it. But ultimately, by the 3rd date, you should be kissing her. Most of the time, I'm going for a kiss on a first date or second date, So if you've gone on 3 dates and you haven't kissed her yet, then you need to be the one that is trying to break that barrier in some capacity. And there's a great way to go about breaking the kiss test. I've talked about that on previous videos, but suffice to say, you want to, at the end of the date, you had a nice time. You're going to go in for the hug, keep it for maybe 5 seconds. And then as you're coming back, your face is going to be here, her face is here. Just kind of go back a little bit, look into her face real quick, and then just go for it. Try to do like a subtle, like 2-second kiss. You're not going to keep it too long. Just do that kiss light enough to see if she likes it. So you do the 2-second kiss, and then you back away, and then you look at her. If she's looking back down at your lips, then you go in for a second kiss, and then that's it. You know, very, very simple. Okay. But you got to be willing to make the moves you need to make to break those barriers if she's not breaking it for you, because ultimately as the guy, she's looking for you to lead the physical interaction. So we're not telling you to go gung-ho or to like try to hook up with her on the street, but like definitely try to go for that kiss on that next date. How she reacts to that kiss will tell you everything you need to know about where her attraction's at for you and whether you need to continue asking her out. Because after 3 dates, if you're going in for a kiss and she kind of gives you the cheek or backs away, you ain't got to like fight or nothing like that, but just know that at that point, it's indicating she's not really comfortable with you or the idea of possibly dating you. Now, to be fair, I've had women that I've kissed and they've told me later, like, hey, like I wasn't comfortable then, at which point I wait for the next time when she is comfortable. But you still got to put out there that you need to let her know that you're ready for that kiss to happen. All right. So see if that works on your next date. And then hopefully you'll be able to get the result and more of the read that you need on that. All right. Oh, he says she hasn't initiated any touch, but she is open to being touched. I talk with my hands and she has been receptive to my touches. I went in for the kiss on the second date and I was rejected. That's a hard one, dude. If you're getting rejected on kisses, because by the second date and really especially by the third date, a woman's been with you enough hours of time to really like be comfortable with that. So if you're going for kisses and she's not responding, then what I would personally do in that situation, because at this point in my dating game, I know like I have enough women that I can go on dates with where I get a first date kiss or second date kiss to where if I get a rejection of a kiss and I take her out on another date and she's still not ready to kiss, I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'll let her reach out to me and I'll find some other women to go on dates with. Because the reality is that ultimately, you know what you want out of this. Aside from a relationship and a girl that likes you, you want a girl that like wants to get physical with you. If she's not showing that that's a way that she's going to be, then you don't owe her a continuing date situation. Like I know as guys, we feel like times like, oh, I feel sorry for her. I don't want to just get rid of her because other guys have gotten rid of her. But if she's not doing the things you want to do physically, then that's totally fine. Like, and you should feel not bad about that at all, because worst what will happen is you guys will break up, she'll hurt for a little bit, and then she'll find a guy that she's willing to kiss. Real talk. So hopefully that helps you out. So this guy, I read your comment, guy. This guy said, I commented on one of your videos recently about me moving to another country. You asked if it was for this woman. It is not. I was already planning to move. And then the update, he said, things are going great, mostly because I have followed your mirroring advice. So when I told this guy was like, he's about to move to another country. And I guess the girl was getting wishy-washy on communication. And I told him, I said, you got to mirror her communication. So if she's like waiting, days or hours on end to contact you back, then again, texting is like tennis. You respond in kind. And what you'll find is that as you start to lessen your communication texting wise, they'll start to reach out more. And I think guys bought into the lie that texting needs to be 50-50, but really in terms of initiating, for every 3 times she initiates, you should be initiating 1 time. Like you should be letting the woman start the conversations. And then when she reaches out to you, then you respond back and forth, and then you stop. And then the next time the conversation starts up is when she initiates. And you're going to find that that leads into the whole, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. If she's reaching out to you, she can never be turning you down when you reach out. So you want to have her being the one to textually reach out more than you're doing. All right. So I'm glad to hear this guy's situation is improving because of the advice that I gave. All right. And then this other guy, this goes back to the comment I answered earlier about the guy. He says, what would I do if they come back? Should I ignore them? So this is actually a good question, okay? Because a lot of you guys have this happen whereby you're talking to a woman, and then she starts to kind of go ghost or starts pulling away or stops texting you altogether. And then what will happen is a couple months down the road, she'll reach out. Hey, big head. Hey, stranger. What's going on? How are you? And guys wonder like, what the heck's going on? Like, why is it happening? Okay. Here's why that's happening is because when she ghosted you and you ignored her, it allowed her to do a reset. You see, when you were constantly texting her all the time, then what happened was that you became too much, and subconsciously she's thinking, I need a break from this guy. This guy's not giving me a break. And then you gave her a break and it allowed her to forget all about the feelings that she had when you were constantly on her and being annoying and texting her all the time and spewing out your feelings and all of this stuff. And now she's back to the original thought she had about you, about that guy was actually great. Like, why did I stop talking to him? Like, he was so fun and so funny and cordial, and we had a good time together. Like, I wonder what's up with him. Because you've now made it her choice to reach out to you. So that's why women will eventually be like, well, I want to talk to him again. So as men, what happens though is that we get butthurt because the woman reaches out, hey, what's going on? And we're automatically thinking, I need to have a conversation about where'd you go? Why'd you leave? What'd you do? You know, I have relatives sometimes that, let's say I haven't talked to them like 2 or 3 months, right? And I'll reach out to them and their first response is, oh, Luca wants to text me now, stranger. Where have you been? Let me ask you, if you have relatives that do that, does that make you want to reach out more to that relative again? Or does it make you think this is exactly why I don't reach out? Because I get this bull crap right here. So when that happens, guys, I know you feel some kind of way about it. You're thinking she could have been texting me the whole time. What the freak's going on? Move that. All right. You need to act like this is like base zero again. Just be like, oh, nothing, been chilling. What's up with you? She'll probably say something back and be like, hey, great. Hey, you know what? I'm busy right now, but you know what? I'd love to catch up. Let's meet up at such and such place, such and such time. Boom, back into it. You're not texting a whole lot again, but more importantly, you're still letting her know that you'd like to see her in some capacity. But that's why that happens, is that you should not ignore them. If this woman, for example, is no longer seeing the other girl that she's talking to and is trying to like start things anew with you, just be like, hey, what's up? What's been happening? She'll say, I'm fine, going good. What's up? Blah, 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 blah. And you can be like, hey, great. It's been great. You know what? I'd love to catch up. Let's meet up. And keep it simple. And don't go thinking, oh, she's hit me up now. I can start texting all the time again. No. You need to be doing something different because you don't want the same results that you got last time. You know? So hopefully that helps out. And then he says, this is so strange because I never initiated contact. She always did. Well, like I said, ultimately, women, they can be loopy sometimes and they might feel some way about a thing one day and the next day not. And this goes back to they are feelings based. They're going to operate on how they feel. So right now, the moment is she doesn't feel like you guys are connecting and she doesn't feel like talking to you. She might feel different in a couple months. I wouldn't bank on that and I wouldn't be waiting around for her. But the point is that she's feelings based. And sometimes women make decisions about things in the moment that they just, for whatever reason, it's going to benefit them. Her not talking to you doesn't benefit you, but however she's feeling about it, for whatever reason, her feelings are saying right now, I don't feel the need to talk to this guy. It is what it is. It might not be anything she's trying to do intentionally to hurt your feelings, but sometimes it just happens and you got to deal with it when it happens. So this other guy who I wrote the previous comment about his following the mirroring advice and about moving to the new country, he says, there is still at least a month and a half to 2 months until I make the move and can see her again. Any advice on keeping things interesting for long distance? Yes. If you can, if she's up for it, try to do a FaceTime date once a week. Like you can't see each other in person. Just like I told guys, when you're seeing them in person, to ask them out once a week. Same thing here for FaceTiming. You might want to do it every week and a half or so, but have that time. Say, hey, I'm free on this Tuesday or Wednesday for a quick FaceTime around dinner time. Let me know if you're free. She'll either say yes or no. Very, very simple. And then from there, just do those FaceTimes. But beyond that, I'm stressing to you guys this, okay? We think we need to be in front of their face all the time to keep their interest. And I'm telling you, it is not like that. I literally reconnected with the woman one time that we went on a first date. And then it was like 11 years until I asked her out again for another date. And when I did that, her response was, I'd love to see you. Let's meet up. And then we got to hook up with each other. You don't have to be in front of a woman's face. Women have memories like elephants. So they're not going to forget you if you don't speak to them for like a week or so. They hold grudges for years on end. You don't think she can remember who you are or how she feels about you after a week's time? You don't need to be constantly in front of her face. And when you get there, you'll have that time. So she knows you're coming. She knows you're going to be there at some point to see in person. But while she's not around you, she's living her own life around her own friends and family and is doing other things besides thinking about you nonstop. So all that to say, if you only see her every week or week and a half on a FaceTime, that'll be enough momentum. On those FaceTimes, talk to her for like 2.5 to 3 hours or however long it's going to be. But don't even stress that. You can talk to her for like a half hour or 45 minutes or whatever. But the point is you make it to where she can see you in person on these things. And then ideally that'll be a way that you're still in her memory, but she's still getting the feeling and vibe of oh, this is why I can't wait for this guy to get here. He says he made a date to watch F1 together after I found out she was a fan. So that is good. Already on that path. And now, great. So yeah, just keep doing that. And here's the thing too, guys, is that I need you all to start making the dating game much easier for yourselves. I think as guys, we are doers, and the hardest thing for us is to not do. So we think we need to be doing a whole bunch of stuff in order to keep a woman's interest. It doesn't take that much work. It really doesn't. For example, you have a date to watch F1 together with her. Great. I don't know what that means, but like you can watch that thing, have a great conversation, rapport. Boom. That's it. That's all I got to do. You ain't got to do anything extra special. You don't have to order her meal for her across the seas or get her flowers or text the next day. I had a great time watching it. Like, no, you have a good time, make her laugh for 2 or 3 hours watching that, and then leave the heck alone for a week. Make dating easier for yourselves, guys. All this extra texting, extra trying to see her, extra trying to, like, none of that's necessary. Like, dating is really easy. We're the ones that make it super duper hard. And women aren't even asking these things of us, you know? Formula racing. Thank you, because I'm not a sports guy like that, so I had no idea. I thought it meant like Fast and Furious 1. So thank you for clearing that up. Okay, on to another comment we have here. He says, it was a very short comment. He said, sup, coach, always on point. I want to suggest a video. What to do when her actions don't match her words. Very simple. You stop seeing her. Like, if a woman is telling you one thing and doing another, then she is a liar. And you don't want to deal with liars long term. You don't want to deal with women that are going to say things like, oh, I want to see you, and then they don't show up for a date. Or, oh, I'm thinking about you, but then they don't answer your text back. Like, it's I keep things very black and white because I found that doing that allows you to get rid of women that aren't going to suit you or want to be with you a lot faster. So if they're saying things and then not doing those things, they are liars, and stop saying them. Super easy, barely inconvenient. All right. Moving on to the next comment here. So this guy is interesting. He gives women ultimatums after a month in terms of texting them and phone calling them and stuff like that. So this guy left this message. He says, texting and phone calls are normal when two people like one another. Of course, it can become extreme and resemble neediness, but I'd rather someone was a bit needy than showing too little enthusiasm. It means a few things: that she's not into you, that she's dating someone else casually, so she's not going to make that much effort unless you're better than that guy, or that she has mental issues that will make it hard to get serious with someone. I give these people a week or two to get their act together, and then I give them an ultimatum, then I leave. So then I asked him, I said, what is the ultimatum that you give them? He said, it depends. Last time, I just told her I didn't think she was interested in me. I could have waited longer and tolerated her behavior, but in my experience, it's not worth it in the long run if the woman is wishy-washy. And then I said, and how long were you two dating before telling her this? And he says, nearly 1 month. So we'll put it like 3 weeks, right? So here's the thing. To start off with, the part where he says, texting and phone calls are normal when two people like one another. He said, it can become extreme and resemble neediness, but I'd rather someone was a bit needy than showing too little enthusiasm. Absolutely right. Like, that is totally a thing. But here's the thing, guy, is that of the two of you, the woman is the one that can get away with appearing a bit needy or showing too much enthusiasm. Why? Because those are all signs. Women's are feelings based. So when they're doing these things, that being needy and showing enthusiasm, these are indicators to you that she's starting to build a higher interest in you. And that is something we need women to do, because it gives us a good barometer. But it does not work the other way. When you are coming across as needy and when you are showing too much enthusiasm, it signals to a woman that your feelings are already high and that she is now being subconsciously made and forced to feel like she has to feel that same way. And what do I tell you guys? We don't want women feeling like they're forced to feel anything. We want them to come to that conclusion on their own. When you start over texting and trying to say, I'm so happy I get to see you, and I feel so like happy that I get to be around you, and I'm so grateful. This is all pressure. Women are feeling pressure. I tell you guys time and time again, women are going to feel things 2 to 3 times more than we are anticipating. So when you tell a girl, hey, I really like you and I want to text you a whole lot, you're reading it at one level. She's reading it at 3 times that level, and it is not good. So we want her to be the one to be able to express these things to us, but we cannot be the ones to do it to them. Is it fair? Nobody's talking about what's fair here. We're talking about what works. And what works is you being the stoic guy that is sometimes not so readily available to where she has to figure out if you want to see her, and is trying to figure out the mystery of your feelings, because mystery for women builds anticipation. Anticipation builds connection and feeling, and it makes them like you a lot faster. You being needy squashes all that and doesn't allow them to feel the natural feminine things they need to feel in order to feel connected to you on a faster basis, you know? And then to the second part, the whole thing about ultimatum. So women need 2 to 3 months to solidify their feelings. So in that first month, I got news for you. She's still building feelings. This is not the time to ask her, hey, so what are we? And are you feeling the same thing that I'm feeling? Because if you're not, then I'm out of here. You need to text me more because your feelings need to be the same way or mine. Like, you're asking somebody to feel things for you at month 1 when they need 2.5 to 3 months to feel it. And all they're going to think is, well, this guy's giving an ultimatum, which means his feelings are already lovey-dovey, and I'm still trying to figure him out, but now he seems to need to already be there, and I'm not, so I'm getting out of here. And you're losing out on women that will legitimately work with you and actually be good in a relationship with you, but you're rushing them to the finish line. So for those of you watching this chat, maybe you haven't seen my stuff before, women need 2 to 3 months. You do not bring up anything involving how you feel about them or what you want out of a relationship with her in that time frame. She needs time to get there and feel those things in a natural way for her. And you trying to bug her about those things is not going to get you there. All right. So hopefully, God, this helps you out. Let's see. Let me see the chat here. We got another question here. And the question is, how often should we compliment women? Well, it depends on what you're complimenting them on. My typically go-to is this. When I go on a first date, I give at least one good compliment about something that they've aesthetically put on themselves, whether it's their dress, whether it's their earrings, their makeup, because women aren't going to take you complimenting their body as anything they haven't heard. And the reason that is because A, people tell them all the time, but more importantly, women had nothing to do with that. Like when you compliment, oh, you got such nice curves, your butt is so big, blah, blah, blah. All women are thinking is, I had nothing to do with that. That's all nature. But if you compliment them on the things that they did, they picked out those earrings, they picked out that shirt or dress that they wore, they picked out the pants and the shoes. Now you're complimenting them on a thought decision that they had to make, which means you're complimenting them on their brain. And that is an indirect way to compliment her brain and her thinking process, which most women are not getting. So when you do that, they're going to feel as though, oh, he wants me for more than just how I look based on nature. He's actually like thinking that I have good style sense and that I put stuff together well and that I think really good. So you give like one of those compliments on the first date. On the second date, you might give like one or two of those type of compliments, or you can start talking indirectly. Like if she has some nice perfume on, you could say like a side comment on the side, like, oh, this food at this restaurant smells great, but you know, it's being blocked by your wonderful perfume. I wish you would stop wearing it because my God, like it smells so great. I want to forget the food. Now that's being indirect, it's being comical, it's being funny, but it's still complimenting, again, a choice that she made, right? So don't go overboard. Women don't need a plethora of compliments. 1 to 2 compliments per date or per outing or when you're seeing them is really like all they need, because anything more than that starts to feel like overkill, and it starts to feel like you have an ulterior motive for trying to butter her up, and we don't want that, you know? Let's see, another question here. Let's see, I think I had a thing at Stacey. So this guy says she is mad that I didn't initiate contact, so she gives me cold treatment. So she kind of like me to chase her, but acted disrespectful, like she's trying to punish me for not chasing her. So I want to correct the thing here is that ultimately, yes, women need to know that we're trying to take them out and trying to get them on dates, right? So it's always going to be the guy's initiation of those plans. Like as the guy, yeah, you want her to come towards you in a certain way of things, but early on in the dating process, you're going to be one hitting her up for dates. If you're not doing that, then you're screwing up, because you're not going to get her trying to reach out to you. Hey, I find you interesting and attractive. We should go out. That is very much a masculine role, and a woman that's going to be in her feminine, because you want to date feminine women. Women that's going to be in her feminine is going to look for you to initiate dates. All right. Now, this isn't to say she's not going to initiate things on her own, but in terms of the actual getting to see her process, she's already initiating when she puts herself in your space to be asked out. When she gives you the number, she's basically saying to you, hey, I'm going to allow you to reach out to me to ask for dates, but she has to give you that. That is her initiation. Beyond that, those first 3 months of dating, you're going to be the one doing the majority of asking out. If you're not doing that, that's how you're shooting yourself in the foot. All right. So we got another question here. This guy says, I have a coworker who always, let me just start over. He says, so this guy says, I have a coworker who always knew I liked her. We became good friends over 5 years. Well, you already screwed up there, because you, at the point that you realized you liked her 5 years ago, is when you should have made a move to ask her out. Now you've been with her for 5 years and it's going to be a problem, but I'll get into more of that. So he says, I recently confirmed I like her And now she feels uncomfortable and says she just wants to be friends. Saw that coming. Now things feel awkward between us. How should I act around her and with her now? Well, you made the mistake of thinking that because you knew her for 5 years at your job or whatever, that in that time frame, you got to think about this, right? In that time frame, you've been pining over this girl. I'm assuming for the 5 years you've known her, right? So you've had time in your head to develop what it would be like to be in a relationship with her, the great times you guys would have together, how well you guys gel. You've had moments where you probably spent time with her and thought, oh, this feels just like a relationship. And so you've built all this in your head over 5 years. And then you're going to her and saying, hey, just so you know, I really like you. You've had 5 years to know that knowledge. And you're springing all that effort and energy and focus onto a person that is learning this for the first time. This is why I tell you guys, you don't need to go to girls and say, hey, just so you know, I really, really like you. Because that comes with it, this idea for women that because you're telling them that, they now have to decide on the moment if they like you too and they want to be with you in a relationship capacity. And you've done none of the steps that are going to build to her having feelings of wanting to be in a relationship with you. So it's very unfair for you actually to go to a woman and say, hey, just so you know, I really like you. But I get it, because guys think you have to put the cart before the horse. You have to tell a girl that you like her in order to then ask her out on a date. And that's not how this works. How this works is you suggest going out to a one-on-one thing sometime, at which point you can then wine her and dine her in a situation that's more indicative of trying to build towards a potential relationship, not being in one yet, but just building towards one. But you cut all that out when you say, oh, I really like you. What do you think about that? And also, because you've had this strong like for her, you've been projecting onto her that she also has those same feelings, and she doesn't. Women are very friendly to people in general. They're very nice. They're very caring. And they can do that to somebody who's their brother, their close personal friend, or they're in a relationship with. So that means that because you've been projecting your interests, you may have been also reading from her signals that you're reading as she really likes me. And it's really just her being friendly to you. So all that to say, you've made things awkward and uncomfortable. And hey, I've been in the situation where a girl I've worked with, we liked each other. We even hooked up a few times. And then I started to get all weird. And then so we stopped hooking up. But I started to go to work and see her like at least 1 or 2 times a week. And honestly, you have to basically, how do I say this? You say now things are awkward. How should I act around her and with her now? So you basically just have to act like you didn't do the thing. Like real talk. Like you have to act like nothing was said. You can't go in there acting butthurt or feeling like, well, I told her I liked her and then she's going to not like me. So now I just got to, like, no, you just talk to her like you were before, like nothing's going on. Chances are she's going to probably, now that you've mentioned this, is probably going to have a hard time coming to you initially, because she's going to be thinking every time I go to him to have a conversation, he's going to think that I probably like him all of a sudden. That's not the case. So, you're at work to work. So focus on your work. If you happen to have a reason to come with a conversation with her, have a conversation. If she comes to you for a conversation, don't assume that conversation means that she suddenly wants to be all buddy, lovey-dovey with you. Just treat it normal. And it's going to feel awkward at first, but ultimately, guy, this goes back to projection. If you're projecting awkwardness into the situation, it's going to be awkward. Versus just be like, hey, if she starts saying, hey, once again, I'm really sorry that I don't have those feelings for you, blah, blah, blah. Just be like, hey, no big deal. You know what? You could say this. You could say, I thought that I was reading something from you that indicated that you liked me, which is the only reason that I said the thing. And then you don't. And that's totally fine. I think you're a great looking girl. So who wouldn't like you? But hey, I totally get it. It's no big deal. And then go about your day. In the meantime, though, start talking to other women, start seeing other women. And if you happen to relay one of those stories about seeing another girl with another coworker and she happens to overhear it because you say it while you happen to be in the same vicinity, hey, that thing could happen. And she might hear those stories and start thinking, wait, some other girl's seeing him? Like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Like, whatever. But like, don't bank on that being a thing. Ultimately, guy, don't project awkwardness. She has the right to ultimately choose who she wants to be with. If it's not you, it sucks and it hurts, but it is what it is. Move on to somebody else. And just when you go to work with her, just talk to her like a regular human being. I know it's going to feel awkward because there's this part of our brain. It's almost like, oh, if I go around her and talk, she's going to feel like I'm still giving that energy. Girls deal with this all the time. Girls have 5 or 6 dudes in their friendship box right now, probably liking them. This is not new hat for her. This is the old hat trick that she's probably had to deal with before. Trust me, guy, she's dealt with it before. You're the only one that feels awkward about it, because as guys, we get awkward about that kind of stuff, but she's totally fine. So hopefully that helps a little bit. All All right, got a couple more comments here, then we'll close it out. So let's see what we got here. Oh, this is a good one. So I did a video called Confirming Dates Kills Attraction. And there was a woman that left a comment under that. And I basically go through the whole talk about in the video, talking about how like basically confirming dates, when you do that, it gives the indication that you didn't think enough about yourself to where this woman's going to actually remember the date that you guys planned. And so you're calling her up basically saying, oh, please keep this date, subconsciously to her. That's what she's reading, at which point it can turn her off because now you're not displaying masculine energy and she can be out. So that was that video. So this woman commented and she said, I look at this from another perspective. Here's a story that illustrates my point. If a guy suggests doing something on Sunday and ask for a few suggestions of places in your area since he lives in a different city, but no specific time or place is set up and there's no conversation about the date after, then for me, it means that nothing is set up firmly. There's no date. If the guy thinks we're still on, he needs to communicate better because I'm not just going to sit and wait. What is your take on that? And so my take on that for you guys watching is this, is that this is why when you call her or you're texting her for the date, you set up all the details on that phone call or on that text stream. Because what you don't want to do is what this girl's talking about, which is make the mistake of saying, hey, so we should do a date on Sunday and you know, you should find some places in your area that we can go to and we should do a date. And there are plenty of you guys that'll do that. They'll say, oh, we'll just set up like, well, we should do a date and we should do an activity. And then you're thinking, well, I'll hit her up later to finalize everything. No. At the point where you're asking out a woman, you should already have set in your mind 3 to 5 locations that you can take this woman. Now, this woman, to be fair, she said, what if the guy says, well, you need to look up a few places in your area since I'm not from where you're at. And guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, don't do that. If you're going to her neck of the woods, I don't care if it's like 2 or 3 towns over, you look up on Yelp or on Google restaurants and fun things to do in her area. All right. Because ultimately, as the guy, women are looking for you to make the plans. Now you're thinking to yourself, but Harry, I don't live in her area. Let me ask you a question. You ever been on vacation before? When you're planning a vacation out, are you able to like go on the internet and look up what things are happening in the island city you want to go to? Like you're looking up zip lining, you're looking up new restaurants, you're looking up fun activities to go on vacation by yourself, right? Okay, so let's apply that same logic to women. Just because you haven't been to her city before or her state before or wherever you're meeting her doesn't mean you can't look it up. And women are looking for that kind of initiative because they're not looking for dates to fall on their shoulders. They're the pretty ones that are going to show up, have a good time with you, and potentially hook up with you if all goes well. All right? So all she's asking you to do, especially with these first couple of dates, all you're trying to do is look up a restaurant. Most of the time, a restaurant, a coffee shop, a picnic, a park somewhere. Like, that's all you got to do. How hard is it to look up another town over and say, okay, let me look up 3 or 4 restaurants in this area and then choose one. There's an Italian place, there's an American place, there's a soul food place, there's a Japanese place. Okay, great. Which one of these do I want to pick? Okay, that's the one I want to pick. Now I'm going to suggest to her, let's do that thing. Now I know why you guys want her to pick, because this goes back to the whole thing of guys thinking, well, in order for her to have a fun time on a date, she needs to be able to pick where we go because she'll know that she's going to have a good time there. And I keep trying to tell you guys, women don't care about the place. They care to some extent in terms of like they want it to look clean and nice, whatever. But what they're really looking for are other metrics that they can measure you for. They're looking to see, can you plan a date? They're looking to, can you try to figure out, a good place for you guys to have a sit down and talk? Can you find a place that's going to surprise her, maybe have some new drinks she never thought about? Because women aren't looking for the same old, same old. If she wanted the same old, she could take herself out. But what she's looking for is new conversation and your initiative. So you trying to leave the plans up to her is never going to be a good idea. Even if you're going to her city, this first date is ultimately more about being able to talk to her and establish if you guys have same things in common and a genuine connection. You can worry about doing alternative fun activities like escape rooms or zip lines or whatever on future dates. This first date, you got to plan it. Whether she's coming to you or you're going to her, you need to plan it. And then when you do plan it, you got to pick the place. There's going to be no, hey, so I picked a Japanese restaurant and a pizza restaurant. Which one do you want to do? Women want the whole thing laid out. They want to know that all they got to do is show up and look pretty. So you plan the date, you plan where you're going, you ask her for like a time that works for her in a day, but that's it. All you're asking her to decide is like what day and time works best for her, and you got everything else handled. You got the mode of transportation handled, you got the activity handled. Like, that's your job. All right, because she's going to measure you on those metrics, not so much where you actually took her. And if you pick Japanese food, but she liked pizza instead, like she's not going to care. She just wants you. She cares more about you being a guy that can plan a date. And I've had so many women that I took out on first dates where I asked them, hey, what made you want to, because I did a lot of online dating, right? And so I got a lot of dates. And a lot of times for women, I'd be the first person that they agreed to actually meet up with. And I'd be like, why'd you pick me to have this experience with? And the response is always, you had great conversation. And also you actually planned out the date. All I had to do was show up and look pretty for you. And that's why we're on this date tonight, because normally I don't do this. So if you want to be a guy that stands out, you got to be the one to plan the date, where you're going, and then you plan it all on that one phone call, and then at the end, you reconfirm then. Okay, great. So just to recap, I'm going to pick you up at 7 on Tuesday to take you out for Japanese food. Fantastic. You know what? I will see you at this time to pick you up. If anything, and you say this, you say, if anything happens or comes up, then I will reach out to you. Otherwise, I will see you at this time. That lets her know that if she doesn't hear from you, the date's still on. If she does hear from you, that's the problem. All right. That's how you get away from having to do all this reconfirming, but you don't do that. So to this woman's question, yeah, if a guy is dumb enough to like ask her out and say, well, you pick a place and, I guess we'll reconfirm dates later, then you're going to always have problems. So my take on that is that you should be telling these guys, no, you pick the date and you plan the time, because it's not the woman's job to plan that stuff on those first few dates. All right, guys. So hopefully this helps you guys out. And I will go ahead and answer one more pre-written comment out. If you guys have any other questions you want to ask me in the chat, feel free to do so now. And I will answer that before I get off of the stream. And so let's see. Which one I want to answer here? A lot of comments. Okay. So I'll answer this guy's question. So this guy left me a comment on one of my videos. He said, I was dating a wonderful girl who was cautious about rushing into a relationship. Rightfully so. Women need 2 to 3 months. Most guys are trying to get them after a week, so that's why they'll typically say that. He says, once we started dating, we realized we had a lot in common, including difficult childhoods. Why are you talking about difficult childhoods on dates? You do not bring up serious subjects like that early on, because even if that's true, she's looking to get out of that space and thus be able to deal with a guy that's more fun and vibrant. Anyway, including difficult childhoods, unique interests, and shared humor. She told me she was feeling lost in life and began sending mixed signals, though, through hot and cold text, which means it indicates to me that this guy was texting her way too much, because this kind of thing can't happen if you're only texting to get dates. He says eventually she admitted to having a long distance relationship, and not being interested in changing that. So at that point, you should have been out. At the point that she said, well, I'm in a long distance thing, your response should have been, totally understand. Hey, you know what? I didn't know that, but now that I know that, if that changes in the future, hey, I'd love to take you out again, but best wishes to you too. Follow up her number, go on to somebody else, because we do not date women that are still in relationships with other people. Continuing. So that happened. And then what did this guy do? Instead of going away, he said, when I then revealed my feelings, which you shouldn't have done, she seemed to manipulate me with push and pull tactics. Well, she's not manipulating you, dude. She's not interested because she has a long distance relationship. And when she told you that, you decided to pile on, oh, well, I have stronger feelings for you too. And now that's making her feel pressure. Whether she was in a relationship with this other guy or not, the point is you've now added pressure for her to feel things for you after a couple of times dating that she's not ready for. So now she's going to start to back away. Continuing, he says, I decided to pull back and suggested we only speak once a year as friends. But that's not what you want. You don't want to be friends with her. You want to be in a relationship. So why you're trying to suddenly say, well, we'll only talk once a year, that's BS. You want to talk to more than that. So you don't do these kind of things. You're trying to ask a woman to promise. You're trying to ask a woman that is in a long distance relationship with somebody else to promise you that you can still talk to her once a year. That looks like needy behavior. That sounds like the behavior of a guy that isn't able to get a lot of women, because if you were able to get a lot of women, you wouldn't be asking for this ridiculous request. So he says she agreed, and then we went no contact. However, she hasn't reached out to me in 3 weeks since then. Well, yeah, you guys went no contact. You said you talk once a year. she's probably waiting for like 11 months to contact you if that's your deal. But I'm banking on she's going to probably not want to actually reach out to you in that span of time because she's not interested. He says, I miss her, but I know her mixed signals are unhealthy for me emotionally. They're not mixed signals. This is why I tell you guys, you need to read a woman's actions versus what she's saying. She's saying we can talk once a year. Technically, she's still sticking to that, but the action's saying she doesn't want to talk to you. Like a woman that really has high interest in you, is she only trying to talk to you once a year and then not ever see you in person? Got to think about it. He says, it's strange how she was so into me and then turned cold when I opened up to her. No, it's not. Despite my keeping distance in the relationship, it didn't work out. What should I do? That sounds so backwards. Despite me keeping my distance, it didn't work out. Well, you're keeping your distance because she doesn't want to go out with you because she's not hoping it's going to work out. Women that like you, help you. Women that don't, won't. She's telling you she's keeping her distance and she only wants to talk to you once a year. Does this sound like a woman that wants to get with you? So you got to stop accepting the minimum. You're trying to put these things into place that allow you to get minimal contact because if only you can talk to her, my princess. Oh, and that's not the energy that's attractive to women. And this energy she's giving off is not indicative of a woman that has high interest. We only want to deal with and focus on women that either have a level of interest in us or that are building high interest. So if you're getting around on a couple of dates and she's saying, oh, I'm in a long distance thing and I only want to see you once a year or to hear from you once a year and I don't really want to see you, that's not a woman that's highly interested. Women that are highly interested, I'm telling you guys, some of you guys have not experienced a high interest leveled woman because women that have high interest put out all the stops to be able to make sure that you know that they're available. They don't ever flake on anything. They're always willing to text you first. They're doing the majority of the texting, majority of the calling. They're starting to suggest dates they want to take you on. If you have not experienced that, I feel sorry for you because that's an example of the kind of behavior that you get when women are highly interested. And more importantly, it's the kind of results you'll get when you as the guy are more patient. Because when you're more patient, they have to come to you. If they're chasing you, they can't be replacing you. So yes, you want to let your interest be known by asking them out. And then you're waiting a few days between dates to contact them to ask them out again. That is the extent in which you display that you're interested, on top of like obviously doing physical moves that indicate you want to get into the bedroom. But all the extra strong moves, they're going to do on their own accord because women don't run across guys in their day-to-day that they find all that interesting or intriguing enough to want to date. So when they meet you, they cannot help but do things that are going to let you know that they are interested. And if you need help trying to figure out how to get to that point, recommend going to introvertdatingsuccess.com, clicking on the coaching tab, and we can have a conversation about this stuff so we can get you on the right path towards being less anxious, more bold, and being able to display the kind of masculine traits that women are looking for that are going to get them attracted to you. All right. All right. So that's it. I got a guy that said, talking to Ace, he said, you need to take the loss on this one. You confessed your feelings wrong. She cares about her feelings, not yours. Well, even with that, it boils down to the fact that he waited 5 years. And that's why I tell you guys, it's better to let your interest be known about a woman early on when she hasn't put you in a box. When you first meet a woman, she knows there's a level we can either go towards a relationship or go towards a friendship, but she's looking to figure out where that's going to go. And that's based on your lead. So if you met her 5 years ago and you were like, making her laugh at the job and giggling, and you say, hey, you know what, outside of this job, like, what are you about? Like, I want to get to learn more about you. Let's go out and just have a nice little dinner together and just kind of talk and just, shoot the breeze a little bit. That would have let her know early on, he mentioned going out. So I might need to start shifting my thoughts about him towards possibly being in a relationship. Now, it's not full on a relationship early on, but it's like leading you towards that. But what you did for 5 years is go friendship, 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 friendship. So now it's stuck over here. So yeah, her mind frame is not stuck on a relationship with you because you led it in the direction for friendship for 5 years. Can you see how that can be awkward? So it's already lost with this woman, but for future women that you meet, whether it's at a party, networking event, if you have any inkling that you potentially could see a future with this woman, start making those moves early on. Ask her for a number, contact her, ask her on a date. It doesn't take much, but you don't want to end up in this thing again where you're waiting. Because I did the same thing. Hey, I've been through all these things where I waited years on end to finally tell a girl my feelings and that I like her and that I want to ask her out, and it never goes well because we're thinking it's like the movies where it's like the movies, oh, she's been my best girlfriend for the last 10 years and now I want to tell her my thing, and then he tells the thing and it works, and then all those guys are home watching this and we get brainwashed and thinking, oh, That's how it works. If you're friends with a woman long enough, you can just tell her you like her and she realizes that, oh, this friendship feels really good, but it feels like it could also be a relationship. And that's not how these things work out, guys. I'm sorry to say it. So stop falling for the propaganda. When you first meet women, ask for their number, ask them on a date, get them on a date. If at that point it doesn't go towards a relationship and she wants to steer it towards a friendship, at least you tried and you at least got the date. But now it's going to be very hard to get the date. All right. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for checking out this broadcast. If you like what you're seeing, be sure to give it a like. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and be sure to tell people about this. Be sure to leave super chats. Be sure to go to my website for sign up for one-on-one coaching. You can also go there for a bevy of products. I got ebooks, audiobooks, programs. Obviously, I got my albums there. I got Non Juan's album still available, the No Girls For You album, which is the hilarious album. And then, of course, I got the Kevin Samuels Was Right album coming out on May 5th. Be sure to check out that album because I worked very hard on it and it is a banger. I'll be putting out previews of some of the songs next week, so be sure to stick tuned for that as well. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I'm Harry Wilmington and I will catch you guys on the next broadcast. I'm out. Peace.
Call this beat Will Smith, cause it slaps hard. Hear it not when I pull up on your boulevard. Ain't got